Welcome to this special edition of Small Town Downtown. As you can see, I'm not at home. Usually I'm at home when I'm doing these. I'm on the road exploring. I'm in Colorado right now at Airbnb, and they got a little bit nicer man cave than I do. So pretty cool place to introduce this video. And this is the best of the small town downtown videos I've done. I've done 19 of these videos. There's going to be 20 towns in this video because I couldn't decide the top video or the top town in Iowa one time. So there's two of them from Iowa from the same video. So that makes 20. And this is where we have just the downtown Main Street area. We would rank them at the end of the video. Small towns like 5,000 or less, kind of in that ballpark. Through these 19 previous videos, I've gone to 197 towns, and it represents 11 different states. So pretty wide variety of places. It's interesting too because I noticed as I was editing, some of my audio is a little bit off early on, so I apologize for that. And then I didn't start adding black and white old photos until about halfway through this series. So sorry to the early towns in the video that I didn't have some of the old photos to reference what that downtown used to look like. If you like this, you know, there's 19 of these videos. Like I said, you can go back and watch them. If you haven't seen it, this is like the first one that you've seen. And they're really interesting, and to try to keep track and to rank them. So I did rank them. At the end of this video, I'm going to go through 1 through 20. So I'm not saying you need to do that, but maybe you can watch, and if there's one or two that stand out to you as the best, see if we agree or disagree. It was a tough decision. But so let's go back a couple years. We start in Kansas, and we roll through a bunch of different places. So we're going to head back and start to video number 1 all the way through number 19. As we cross over into Kansas, our first town is Caldwell, which is in Sumner County, Kansas, population of 1,025. It was founded in 1871 and named for Senator Alexander Caldwell. It was incorporated in 1879. The Chisholm Trail ran along the east side of the community from 1867 to 1871, and it's also known as the ornate box turtle capital of the world. The first census, the population was 1,005, and it's gone up and down to its current of 1,025, just 20 more than it was in 1880. Quinter has this really nice mural kind of in the middle of the downtown area. We're now in Gove County for several of the next towns. Population 929 for Quinter, established in 1885, named for the Reverend James Quinter, so 2 towns in a row named after reverends. It was originally a railroad switching site called Malata, and then it became known as Familton, changed to Quinter in 1886. We are currently kind of in the highest stages of population. Since 1970, the population has been around this number. So good to see a town out here in western Kansas that has not lost population. We are here in Walsenburg in Orfano County, Colorado. This is the county seat, actually, with a population of 3,049. It was originally settled in 1859 under the name La Plaza de la Leones after a settler who came from New Mexico, and then 1970 the post office was changed to Walsenburg after early settler Fred Walsen.
We're in the town square of Fairbury, Nebraska, which is the county seat of Jefferson County. It was platted in 1869 on the planned route of the St. Joseph and Denver City Railroad. It was named after one of the founders' hometown of Fairbury, Illinois. They incorporated in 1872 when the railroad eventually came through. In 1886, the Chicago, Rock Island, and Pacific Railroad reached town, and it was designated as the headquarters of the railroad's Western Division. Population then grew dramatically and peaked in 1950 at 6,395 and has gone down every census since then to 3,970 today. And staying in Runnels County, this is the county seat, Ballinger, Texas, population 3,619. It's had a post office since 1886, and it was established when the Gulf, Colorado, and Santa Fe Railroad came through town. It was named for William Ballinger. He was an attorney and a stockholder of the railroad. Population figures peaked in 1950 as it went a little bit over 5,000 and has gone down quite a bit, down to 3,619.
We're now over to one of the most requested towns for me to visit, and it's Council Grove, Kansas. It's the county seat of Morris County, has a population of 2,140. It was named after an agreement between American settlers and the Osage Nation, allowing settler wagon trains to pass westward through the area on the Santa Fe Trail. Pioneers gathered at a grove of trees so that wagons could band together for their trip west. They established a post office here in 1855. This main street in Council Grove is the actual old Santa Fe Trail, and in 1858 the town was incorporated. The Hayes House along Main Street here is said to be the oldest continuously operating restaurant west of the Mississippi River. The population grew pretty steadily and was in the 2,800 range from 1920 till 1940, has dropped a little bit, and is now the lowest it's been since before 1890. Next up is Mountain View, population 2,533, and we are now over to Howell County. Mountain View was platted in 1888, named for the panoramic views from the elevated town site. Post office has been called Mountain View here since 1879. Population pretty steady in the early days and then skyrocketed through the mid 20th century, went up almost every census until the last census in 2020 when it went down to 2,533. As you can see, it has started raining, and it's going to be raining for the rest of our trip today. This is Macedonia, population 267, and we are now in Pottawatomie County for the remainder of this video. Rest of these 8 towns are all Pottawatomie County. The town was named after the region of Macedonia in ancient Greece, and it's located along the route of the historical Mormon Pioneer National Historic Trail that goes from Illinois to Utah. There was a key crossing at the West Nishnabotna River that led to the formation of Old Macedonia. Religious life flourished there, and a successful petition for a post office happened in 1850. Old Macedonia grew modestly as a trade hub until the arrival of the railroad in 1880 that spurred the creation of this new town site a little bit to the east. And this town was incorporated in 1892. The first census, the population was 295, and it's down to 267. It's been pretty consistent all through the years. Avoca, Iowa, population 1,683, was founded in 1869, along with the construction of the Chicago, Rock Island, Pacific Railroad. A lot of these other towns were as well. It was named after a place mentioned in the Thomas More poem, The Meeting of Waters, about the river Avoca in Ireland. Interestingly, the county government maintains a second courthouse here to serve the northeastern portion of the county, as Council Bluffs, which is the county seat, is in the extreme southwestern part of this county. Population has been very consistent. 1,627 at the first census to 1,683 at the last. It's gone down just a little bit, but 1,683 is the highest it's ever been. Next up is the town of Sulphur, and before I tell you about the history, as you can see here, there's a lot of damage to the town because almost 1 year ago, on April 27, 2024, the city was hit by a destructive tornado as part of a much larger tornado outbreak that impacted several parts of Oklahoma. There's one confirmed fatality here, and the majority of the downtown suffered substantial damage as a direct hit of the tornado. So I'm going to take you through the main street here and tell you about the history, but you're going to see just how devastating it was, and obviously they're still rebuilding. I broke my rule by having towns of less than 5,000 people. This one actually has 5,065. I think you understand why I broke the rule. I wanted to put a little attention here on the town of Sulphur. It's the county seat of Murray County. This area around Sulphur has been noted for its mineral springs since well before the city was founded in the late 19th century. The city received its name from the presence of sulfur in the water. Sulphur developed in the early 1890s when conventions and gatherings were held at the springs. Post office opened in 1895. Railroad came through in 1902. There was a West Sulphur and an East Sulphur on opposite banks of the Rock Creek with no bridge between. A rivalry developed between the two towns. Then in 1909, a bridge was built. In 1904, the name of Sulphur Springs Reservation was changed to Platte National Park, the present Chickasaw National Recreation Area. 1908, Sulphur defeated Davis in an election determining the county seat. So once again, obviously you can see all the devastation that hit Sulphur, and there's some new buildings being built. There were literally people working on buildings as I drove through that day. So it was very sad to drive through here and see all of the damaged buildings. I can't imagine what it was like to experience that. And we head back to Texas, and now we're in Denton County. This is Pilot Point, population 4,381. This is the oldest settlement in Denton County, started around 1845, which was also the year of Texas statehood. Post office opened in 1855. It was an anchor point of early trails by Native Americans and settlers heading west. It's also on the Butterfield stage route. This town square was put on the highest point of land that could be seen from a far distance and was originally called Pilot's Point, later shortened to Pilot Point. The downtown brick buildings started going up around 1872, and the entire downtown is now in the National Registry of Historic Places. Railroad came through in 1880, and this was where the bank robbery scene of the 1967 film Bonnie and Clyde was filmed. Population figures were pretty steady for the first half of the 20th century, then started going up, and it has continued to go up recently, up to 4,381, and in fact, the 2025 estimates are over 6,000. Harrington, population 3,774, and we're in Kent County for the rest of this video. It was named for Samuel Harrington, a former chancellor of the state. The town developed at a railroad junction along the Delaware Railroad and served as a rural trading center. Founded in 1780 by early settler Benjamin Clark, it was known as Clark's Corner. When he built a home and tavern here, the tavern became a stop for stagecoaches. It was a logical place for a railroad stop when the Delaware Railroad put a junction here in 1856. That accelerated the population. Post office started in 1862. The fairgrounds and harness racing are a foundation for the city. The fairgrounds have been an integral part of life in town since 1920, when a group of entrepreneurs started the Kent and Sussex County Fair. They, in 1962, changed that to the Delaware State Fair. They also have the oldest continuously operating harness racing track in the country. Nearby Harrington Raceway and Casino tracks about 1.5 million people every year. Population has gone up consistently throughout the years and is at its highest total of 3,774 today. Crandon, Wisconsin, is located in Forest County, population 1,713. It's the county seat and only incorporated town in the county. In the 1880s, entrepreneur Samuel Shaw and Major Frank Crandon lobbied for the creation of Forest County, which was established in 1887, with Crandon named as county seat after the major. Rail service arrived via the Sioux Line Railroad around 1900, and growth came alongside the lumber industry. Major sawmill was built in 1902, drawing settlers from Kentucky who influenced the local culture. The city incorporated in 1909, coinciding with construction of the courthouse. And while timber declined regionally, logging remains active in the area. Population peaked in 1940 at 2,000 and has gone down and back up and down again, and is at the current level of 1,713. You can see we passed into Missouri, and now we're going to cross over this bridge and go into the town of Noel, Missouri. Population 2,124. It's in McDonald County. It's not Noel, like the Christmas name, but it's Noel. Post office has been in operation since 1886. Community was named for Clark and William Noel, who were brothers, stockmen, and owners of a local sawmill. town was founded after the arrival of the Kansas City, Pittsburgh, and Gulf Railroad. Now, some people like to refer to the Noel spelling of it, and each year thousands of Christmas cards and letters are sent to the post office during the holiday season. Most of the year, however, the residents pronounce the town as Noel. In 1969, a freight train exploded while passing through Noel, spraying fragments of metal through houses and buildings over a 6-block area. One person was killed and 40 others were injured. Population, just like the towns in Arkansas, was fairly small, kind of, moderate level of population, and then went up there in 1970 and has continued to rise in every census to its largest today. Now we're over to Humboldt, population 1,847, still in Allen County. This was originally an American settlement named after Baron von Humboldt. It was founded in 1857 by German migrants. Humboldt was the Allen County seat for 7 years, like we just talked about when I was in Iola. That's from 1858 to 1865, then Iola became the county seat. The legitimacy of the 1865 election was questioned by the residents here due to low turnout arising from soldiers fighting in the Civil War. Humboldt faced 2 Confederate raids in 1861, one involving kidnapping free black residents and another that burned most of the town. Local militia and army troops then fortified and protected the area through the Civil War, establishing posts like Camp Hunter and a blockhouse until the military withdrew in 1865. In 1870, the Leavenworth, Lawrence, and Galveston Railway was run through Humboldt. The railway operated during the 20th century as part of the Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe Railway and is currently operated by the South Kansas and Oklahoma Railroad. Population peaked in 1930, 2,558, has lost a little bit of population but generally has maintained a pretty strong community. And now over to our final town of the day. This is Ripley, located in Brown County. Colonel James Pogue, a veteran of the American Revolution, arrived in the Free State of Ohio from Virginia in 1804 to claim the 1,000 acres he had been granted in what was called the Virginia Military District. Pogue was among a large group of veterans who received land grants in what was first organized as the Northwest Territory north of the Ohio River for their service in the American Revolutionary War and freed the people that they had enslaved when they settled there. Pogue and his family laid out the town of Staunton in 1812, and then it was renamed in 1816 to honor General Eleazar Wheelock Ripley, an American officer of the War of 1812. Given its location on the river, Ripley became a destination for slaves escaping from slavery in Kentucky on the other side. Both black and white residents developed a network, making Ripley a significant stop on the Underground Railroad. A number of prominent abolitionists lived in the town in the 19th century, mainly on Front Street near the river. John Rankin moved from Kentucky to Ripley in 1822 and later built a house on Liberty Hill overlooking the town. From there, he signaled escaping slaves with a lantern on a flagpole and provided them shelter. The house is now known as the John Rankin House and has been designated as a National Historic Landmark. A couple other well-known people from Ripley. Stephen Newman was the first man to walk solo around the world. He was from Ripley. Colonel Charles Young was the first black man to achieve the rank of colonel in the United States Army. Population grew pretty quickly there around the Civil War. You can see 1860, it reached 2,700 people, and that's about the biggest it's ever been. It went down and then went back up again in 1970 and has started to come back down to 1,591. We can see these really nice houses along the river here on the right. Really cool downtown to visit. Arcadia is our final town of the day. It's the county seat of DeSoto County, population 7,420. Reverend James Henry named the town in honor of Arcadia Albritton, daughter of pioneer settlers. She baked him a cake for his birthday, and he appreciated it so much he named the town after her. In 1886, the Florida Southern Railway was built through Arcadia. A second railroad line, the Charlotte Harbor and Northern Railroad, was built through Arcadia in 1910. During the late 19th century, Arcadia was the county seat of what would become many counties. In 1921, legislation called for Arcadia to remain the county seat of DeSoto County and resulted in the creation of the present-day counties of Charlotte, Hardy, Glades, and Highlands. The main street here, Oak Street, in Arcadia, is on the National Register of Historic Places. The Hurricane Charlie in 2004 and Hurricane Irma in 2017 both did damage to the town. The population is at its second highest mark at 7,420, was a little bit higher in 2010. This is Kingfisher, population 4,903, is the county seat of Kingfisher County, appropriately named. Came into existence in 1889 when the government opened this land by a land run. The town was named for an early resident who several landmarks were named for, a man named Kingfisher. King was his first name, Fisher was his last name. The bill that opened the Oklahoma Territory to non-Indian settlement limited the size of town sites to 320 acres, so settlers in the area formed two communities. There was Kingfisher City on the north and Lisbon on the south. Then those two merged in the 1890s into just Kingfisher. Railroads obviously helped with Kingfisher's growth. Chicago, Kansas, and Nebraska Railway was built through the area, and the first train arrived in 1889. Sam Walton and James Bud Walton were founders of Walmart. They're both from Kingfisher. That's where their family was raised. Population has gone up throughout the years. The most recent one was its largest at 4,903. So looks like things are on the up and up in Kingfisher. This is Hiawatha. It's the county seat of Brown County, population 3,280. B.L. Ryder reportedly was responsible for naming Hiawatha, taking the young Indian's name from Henry Wadsworth Longfellow's poem, The Song of Hiawatha. It was founded in 1857, became the county seat in 1858. The first school opened here in 1870. The main street was designated Oregon Street after the Oregon Trail. Parallel streets north of it were named after Indian tribes north of the trail, and streets south carried tribal names south of the trail. The city is home to the longest-running continuous Halloween parade in the nation, starting in 1914. According to the New York Times in 2012, the cartoonist Bob Montana inked the original likeness of Archie and his pals in the idyllic Midwestern community named Riverdale because Mr. Goldwater, a New Yorker, had fond memories of his time spent in Hiawatha. Goldwater had hitchhiked to the community at the age of 17 and started working at the Hiawatha Daily World newspaper. Look at the population. It had that increase like a lot of these towns in the late 1800s, and then by 1920 it was over 3,000. It did peak in 1980 at 3,700 and is now at 3,280. Cassville is the county seat of Barry County with a population of 3,190. The land here was platted in 1845, and that's when the post office was set up. The community was named after Lewis Cass, a former United States Senator and Secretary of War. Cassville was incorporated in 1847. During the forced removal of the Cherokee people along the Trail of Tears, a group traveling the northern route made a stop in Cassville, Missouri. Cassville served as the Confederate capital of Missouri for 1 week in 1861, and this ended abruptly when the duly elected governor of the state, Claiborne Jackson, and his political and military allies were pushed further south by the invading Union Army. The city was then connected by rail via the Cassville and Exeter Railroad in 1896. Looking at the population, you can see it's been a steady growth throughout the years. Obviously, being the county seat has been helpful in that. It peaked in 2010 at 3,266 and has dropped off just a little bit in the last census. That was such a fun look back at those videos. I had forgotten some of those places. You know, you go to so many and you kind of almost forget some of them. So if you've seen them, maybe it kind of jogged your memory as well. So how did your rankings turn out? I can tell you this was a difficult decision. I'll give you my top 5, and then I will show you my entire list here at the end. But actually tied for 5th was the 2 towns from Iowa, Macedonia and Avoca, I think. It's been a while since I pronounced that name. That was a tough one, but they were really, really good. I liked both of them for different reasons. Macedonia, by the way, is the great Death Go Round / mural in Macedonia. Really, really love that. Number 4 for me is going to be Hiawatha, Kansas. And great downtown. They got the kind of square kind of downtown and just a lot of great old historic buildings, and it just looked terrific. Number 3, going back to my roots, Ripley, Ohio, down on the Ohio River, just a few miles from where I grew up, so maybe a little partial to that area, but tons of old buildings down there for a town that only has 1,500 people living there. And number 2 is going to be Kingfisher, Oklahoma, another great town, one that I had never been to. And so just the downtown area, a lot of great old buildings, some statues, a lot of terrific murals in Kingfisher, and definitely a place that I want to go back. And my number 1 town is Council Grove, Kansas. And Council Grove is just a great main street. It's got a lot of history. It's a really interesting historic town for a lot of reasons, but yeah, so Council Grove will be my number 1 video. How did you rank them? Did you come up with Council Grove or some other terrific town? Any of these towns could have been number 1 because they were number 1 for me at one point in the other videos. So how did you come up with your number 1 choice? Here's my entire list from 1 through 20. And it was really tough. So many great towns. Sorry to Quinter, Kansas. Somebody had to be at the bottom. It was one of the smaller towns on the list, but Quinter was number 1 up there in the northwestern part of Kansas. Anyways, I hope you all enjoyed that look back, and next time I will see you down a back road. Hey, thanks for making it all the way to the end of that video. And since you're here, let me tell you a little bit more about the extras on the channel. One of the first things you can do is become a member. There are 3 levels of support. There's supporter,
producer, and executive producer levels. All three have different levels of fun incentives and perks. If you haven't done so, please check out travelwiththewiseguy.com. There are lots of extras on there to explore. One of them is merchandise. We have Travel with the Wise Guy coffee mugs, Death Go Round t-shirts, hoodies, hats, and all sorts of fun things to show your support of this channel. Also on the website is a custom Google map. I've dropped pins in every place I've visited and linked the episode to each location. This seems to be a very popular feature for many of you. Also, sign up for my free newsletter that goes out about once a month. There are all sorts of links and tidbits on this page, old videos, podcasts, and just about everything I can think of I throw on the website. Get all that information on travelwiththewiseguy.com.